Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to talk really loudly to you, I guess. Maybe I'll quiet down. I'm really excited to introduce Dylan Tichenor, a fantastic editor. I've had the opportunity to interview him already. I could give you his filmography, but Michael's son, Trevor, has made a great video which compiles all of this into about 5 minutes. So I just turn your attention to the screens, and we will introduce Dylan with video. Ladies and gentlemen, Dylan Tichenor.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. Side.
Hi.
Dylan and I both decided we want to do 2 hours tonight. So, man, watching that, watching those films, one of the things that really struck me was how much you feel when you're watching those. How much you feel for the characters, how much emotion there is. Is there something that drives you when you're trying to edit that you think, how can I pull the most emotion or get the audience with me when I'm cutting those?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's a compliment to Trevor who cut that, which it builds into something very emotional. Good job, Trevor, wherever you are. Yes, the emotion is what's interesting to me. You know, you have a story, but underneath the story you have how people feel about what's going on, how the characters are reacting to things, and that often those underlying things that aren't necessarily part of the story but are included in what the actor did or are possible to create is what interests me the most. How when I'm watching footage and figuring out how to put a scene together, those are the things that I'm waiting to feel. Where does my stomach kind of flip a little bit? And then that's what I try to work on.
Do you, when you're making those initial decisions, I know one of the things that happens sometimes is you feel something like that when you first see it, and then after you've watched the film 25,000 times, you stop feeling those things.
Yeah, then you just give up. You just go home, turn it off. Yes, that's true, and so I take a lot of notes. The first time I watch things, I take very specific notes to remind myself. This is a bit that I felt this is a bit that I felt that. I pull all those things, and I try to work with those. And as you're working through, especially, I've done films with a lot of footage, you know, hundreds of hours, and you lose your way in a cerebral way. You can't really remember, but you trust your process to remind you, yep, I did really feel it. And the truth is, once you get through it, you get the scene built, you get the sequence built, the film built, and you step back from it, it always comes back. Oh yeah, I remember that. That is how I felt. So I don't know, you sort of have to devise methods to capture, just as if you're a writer. Mm-hmm. You make notes to yourself. Let me not forget about the girl in the pink dress, and you put that away somewhere. And you might never remember it, but you have the piece of paper to go, this was something. So, like that.
You mentioned like being a writer. Do you feel like how do you think that being a writer is similar to being an editor?
Well, I do think that editing is like writing, and editing feature films is like rewriting often. You know, it's one thing in the script, it's another thing when they shoot it, and it's another thing when you cut it. And just on a concrete level, you're often completely changing dialogue. I mean, I've done movies where we've wholly rewritten scenes, repurposed scenes, take a guy from that scene, comp him into this scene, and where you are rewriting. And also moving sections of the story around. So this happens before that, and it's not how it was conceived, but it's how it works the best for a film. And it feels like writing a little bit. A lot of it feels like writing, because you're taking building blocks that would be words or shots or moments, and you're putting them in the order that most effectively tells the story. And often that is different from how it was originally conceived.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by why that happens, because that happens in so many movies where, you know, the structure that a screenwriter provides you with is just different than what works when you cut the thing together. Do you have any thing that guides you when you're trying to decide should I deviate from the script, and where do I need to deviate from the script?
Right. Well, I think it depends. If I'm working with a writer-director, which I often do, well, in general, I think I try to build something that reflects what was originally conceived so that the writer, the director can see, okay, this is how I thought it was going to be, and then I have an alternate idea. Or I've been talking to the director sort of throughout saying, look, this doesn't seem like it's going to work, and we've agreed, yeah, actually do it a different way. A lot of my assistants who go on to edit and stuff always call me, am I supposed to put all the dialogue in from a scene, or can I cut some lines out in the first cut? It's up to you. How much do you like your job? You take a chance. If it really doesn't feel good, I take it out. But often what needs to happen, we in the editing room have a sort of maxim that is the director or the producers, they need to see it wrong before they can understand, because we've been living with it, we've been doing it, I've been doing this for a lot of years. We can tell beforehand that's not going to work so well, but they have to see it. And you're never going to convince anyone until you show them, so here's how it doesn't work, and I think this fixes it. So often you just have to sort of do that.
Yeah, I just presented this morning, and that was one of the things that I mentioned was you can try to cut those lines out and not show them to the director at all, but he's never going to own it until he sees it the way he planned it, and then you go weeks or months later, is that working for you?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah.
And they're always going to ask, what happened to that line? You didn't start with that line. Yeah, I didn't. Here it is. I'll show you. Oh, yeah, okay. No, we don't want that. Right.
Exactly.
But often, it's happened the opposite too, where a line or something, an idea early on gets called back late in the editing process, like this isn't working exactly right. What about? And then, oh yeah, the bit where she came in the door. All right, let's try it now. Because it's in a different context, it may have a different effect.
I want to play a video scene from, we're calling this Train for the video guy. This is from the movie Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford.
Coward.
Train. That was great.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about constructing a scene like that, because it's not written in the script, cut to the lights coming through the trees and cut to another shot of the lights coming through the trees. It's
right. I mean, that largely, you look at that and go, oh, Roger Deakins is a great photographer. That's what I think when I look at it.
That's true.
And Andrew, Dominik, the director, set up these great costumes. And so with that whole sequence, yeah, it wasn't written specifically. And as I sort of touched on earlier, I watch things and the moments, the images that make me excited, make me feel something. I pull all those together and try to make them work. And that's how I approach that scene. And it's just that movie's just full of all these magical images that made it really very rewarding to work on. I think, you just sort of try to get all the best bits in.
One of the moments that I thought of was that opening shot where the train, there's 5 or 6 or 7 seconds of pure black, where all
Yeah.
you're listening to is sound design.
Richard King, yeah.
And you're fighting, I would think you'd be fighting that decision like, let's go straight to the train.
Well, I did. I certainly did several versions of that. Some where the train came around faster, some where it came around much, much slower, where Andrew Dominik was like, no, mate, 20 seconds. Let it go like 20 seconds. You're like, Andrew, I don't think you understand what 20 seconds feels like. But, yeah, well, you know, you play with it. And that was, we wanted it to be long. We wanted it to come out. You couldn't exactly hear it here, but Richard did fantastic sound design. And so it's cinema. It's worth sitting there to experience it, and you're building up an expectation of what might be coming, and then, you know, it sort of exceeds your expectations. I think that sort of arc light going through the trees is really amazing look. And then the moment that always gets me is that bit where the train hits the dolly and keeps going.
Oh, yeah.
And I tried it with that, without that, because it always got my attention. Like, that's a weird thing to have in a movie. It makes you think about the camera, which I always kind of try to avoid, but it really worked very well, so left it in.
I want to show another video clip from the same movie because this is a little bit more psychological. This is a scene called Night, or we're calling it Knife, but it's a very powerful scene, and we'll watch it and then we'll have you talk a little bit about how you constructed it. Knife.
Charlie, you stay with the animals. Me and the kid, we'll walk into that bank just before noon. Bob will move that cashier away from the shotgun that's under the counter. And I'll creep up behind that cashier. And I'll cock his head back like so. And I'll say, how come an offscouring of creation like you still sucking air with so many mining coffins? I'll say, how did you get to reach your 20th birthday without leaking out all of your clothes? And if I don't like his attitude, I will slit that Phil Doodle so deep he will flop on the floor like a fish. My God, what just happened? Boy, I can hear your gears grinding. Your little motor wondering, my gosh, what's next? What's happening to me? You're precious behold, Bob. You're white as spit in a cotton field.
You got him. You got him.
You want to know how that feels? Unpleasant. I honestly can't recommend it.
Little Charlie looks stricken.
I was.
This is plumb unexpected. Little Charlie was thinking, that done ruined my day.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks.
Do you find yourself acting along with the actors? There's like the performances are great choices in there.
Thanks. Acting along with them in the cutting room?
Okay.
I say the lines a lot. The people I work with think I'm insane. They've come up with there's a term called echolalia, where you say the same thing over and over again, and I've got it, yeah.
Talk a little bit about
I really like that scene. What's nice, what's cool about that scene is, and it's a long movie, so there's stuff around it that you need to see, but the underlying stuff between Charlie and Robert, Casey and Sam Rockwell is what's fun in that sequence, where they're trying to be funny and they're trying to be light and laugh, but they're so damn scared that Jesse's going to kill him any minute that's what's underlying the whole thing, and that's what's fun to me about it. And Brad was really good in that sequence.
Yeah, leading up to this, you know that there's distrust between.
Big time. They're scared of Brad, and they know something is not what he is not the way he's saying it, and so that's a scene where they're trying to have fun, but they're really shitting in their pants.
Yeah. We have a video question. For those of you who are here on the Dodie Dorn interview, I have a question from Joel Cox, and Joel Cox is Clint Eastwood's longtime editor and edited all the famous Clint Eastwood westerns. So if we could hear from Joel Cox and hear a question from him, that'd be great.
Hi Dylan, Joel Cox here. I've cut a lot of westerns for Clint Eastwood, and I have a question about building tension and anticipation leading up to an event like a gunfight.
Building tension and anticipation leading up to a gunfight. Well, yeah. You know, there's a few kind of ways that I like to see that in movies. One of which is there's some scenes, some sections in Jesse James like this where it's kind of long, slow anticipation. You know that something's going to happen. The guy is going to walk through the door and start shooting. And so the trick there is to either make it sooner or later than you expect, and building that thing up, and which Joel does in Unforgiven certainly super well, where it's really fun when you have multiple angles, points of view, and you can build up the expectation that something's going to happen, and then you stretch the moment, and then, you know, sort of unexpectedly snap it. I think that's sort of one of the tricks to do, and then showing the audience what the characters are afraid of, and letting them stew in that is really what builds anticipation. Sometimes as an editor, you sort of want to go faster than, like, well, just get to the verb, let's get to it. But that's leaving some anticipation, some sort of emotion on the table when you do it that way. I don't know, there's a lot of tricks, Joel.
Well, I mean, the train scene, I think, is a great version of that, because that train scene leads up to a train hijacking, basically. Yep. And so that's all that anticipation and
then it sort of happens. I mean, that isn't a fast movie, but then after that, things happen quite quickly, and I love that. I love sort of slow setups with things that happen so fast you're not really sure what happened, because I think largely that's the way those things happen. And certainly in your mind, looking back on them, that's the way they seem to have happened, because you weren't ready for the action.
Well, you kind of, there was a mention of that in the video that Trevor put together, which was a quote from you, which said you create a pace, rhythm, and then you break the rhythm.
Yeah, I kind of believe that.
Well, you said it.
I did say it, yeah. I think that's important. I do. I think setting up, it's sort of like music. I often feel a little bit musical when I'm cutting things that things are sort of go along at a pace, and then I sort of give it a bediddle that you know, as an audience, I sit forward when that happens. Like, oh, what? Wait, what? And that's what gets me locked in. So, yeah.
A drummer term, a padiddle.
That's a padiddle, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I am no drummer.
I want to have you set up this There Will Be Blood video. That's the next video we want to show, is a scene from There Will Be Blood, which is a dedication scene. Tell us, because you need to understand a little bit about it before you watch it. And then the other thing I want the audience to do is really pay attention to the editing as you're watching. Think of each cut and how they had to be created. Those edits had to be created and decided on by an editor watching dailies, and they just don't happen.
Well, this is a sequence where Daniel Day-Lewis's character, Daniel Plainview, has come and taken over this town and set up oil derricks. And we have Paul Dano's character, who's the local kind of wannabe preacher, and he's trying to make his mark and get his brand going. And Paul Dano has asked Daniel Day-Lewis, when you set in this new well, let me come say a few words and do a blessing on the well. You know, he's can see what he can get out of it. And Daniel says, yep, sure, great. So then this is the scene that ends up happening. And I guess I'll say beforehand, we shot it more than once, because the first time I got it and put it together, I couldn't quite tell the story because I didn't have the two characters actually looking at each other. And I felt that that's what was needed to make this moment, which is without words, play. We had to understand that one character had an expectation and the other one was defying it.
Let's watch this scene from There Will Be Blood.
Oh,
Whoops.
make that bigger.
I thank you all so much for visiting with us at this time. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of you, and I hope very much in the months to come, I'll be able to visit with each and every one of you. Oh, I'm better at digging holes in the ground than making speeches, so let's forget the speech for this evening. Just make it a simple blessing. You see, one man doesn't prospect from the ground. It takes a whole community of good people, such as yourselves. And this is good. We stay together. We pray together, we work together, and if the good Lord smiles kindly on our endeavor, we share in the wealth together. Now, before we spud in, Mary's well, number one, named for the lovely Miss Mary Sunday here by my side, a proud daughter of these hills. I'd just like to say, God bless these honest labors of ours, and of course, God bless you all. Amen. Won't be a minute. Fast as you can, H.W. You ready to do this? That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Al Rose has very generously provided some refreshment for this occasion out of his own pocket. Thank you. Oh, just care to help yourselves. I'll be back in a minute.
Cut the video, please.
There we go.
Sorry about that.
So that was a little clip that we added at the last minute, so it was a little small on the screen. That was not planned. Sorry about that. So talk to me about when you saw that you didn't have what you needed. That would be a scary thing, I would think, to go to the director and say you didn't get it.
Not scary, but Paul and I work together a lot, the director, Paul Anderson, and no, I think it was, sometimes there are things like that. I don't think we have this moment, or we're missing a beat where a character does A, B, or C. That often happens. Reshooting a whole scene is rare, but that also happens. In this case, we just had to do it to get them to do different things. I think if you have the wherewithal in your budget and your schedule, well worth doing.
Yeah. One of the things that's tricky, I think, is the very delicate balance between showing a character moments like that, like where you're just letting a character, like seeing the guy realizes that he's being screwed,
Yeah.
and that this promise that he was made is not going to happen, and allowing those character moments to happen and not rushing them to get to the next great action.
Well, and that's what that movie does. I mean, some movies have to be faster. That movie was purposefully paced out that way, and it pays off. If it weren't so small on the screen, you could see the faces, and It's about the looks between the two of them, and Something Promised, and all the dialogue that Daniel gives is from the previous scene where Paul Dano has said, and I'm a proud son of these hills. So he's taken all the dialogue and said it about the girl. At any rate, yeah.
Pretty cool. I want to move on to another movie, which is the Marriott Hotel scene. So this is from Zero Dark 30, and this is just a great dialogue in here of between two characters, and then a big surprise. So if we could just play the Marriott Hotel scene.
Plus, I think it's a good thing you lied.
No, not at the expense of protecting the homeland. You can't. Wait a minute, why is it a good thing?
You sound just like Bradley. He doesn't believe in my lead either. It's a good thing because the fact that Faraj withheld on Abu Ahmed is very revealing. The only other thing Faraj lied about was the location of bin Laden himself. That means Faraj thinks Abu Ahmed is just as important to protect as bin Laden. That confirms my lead.
Or it's confirmation bias. We're just worried about you, okay? Is that okay to say?
I mean, look how run down you are. Where's Jack? We're probably stuck in some checkpoint somewhere.
You two hooked up yet?
Hello, I work with him. I'm not that girl that fucks. It's unbecoming.
So, no fooling around wouldn't hurt you. So no boyfriend? You got any friends at all?
That's Jack.
Hey.
That's okay.
There, have a dinner.
Wow. So we were talking about those holds, the little moment like when she says, do you even have any friends?
Yeah.
Things like that. Talk to us a little bit about constructing the emotion of that and the character interaction.
Well, what's rewarding about that scene is you're playing a straightforward dialogue scene that the audience has no idea where it's going, and that was the whole point of the scene. We get a little bit of character information about Jessica, and then an explosion happens in the way that it happens for everyone there who's eating dinner, and anybody who's sort of a victim of this terroristic acts, is that it just comes out of left field. And so that was the intent with that. It seemed to largely work. Everybody was surprised by that the first time they saw it. And I just enjoy, I think the hope was that you sort of get sucked into this moment of, well, now what's happening? And then an explosion happens.
And how do you determine like the beautiful cutaways to being, whether you're on one person or not in a conversation? What's driving that for you?
I'm trying to get all the colors of the character and the moments in that I can. Jennifer Ely's character has her certain angles. That's what drives me, is I'm just trying to show as much as I can and have as much revealed as possible. I think that I am maybe purposefully in that scene being a little more just workday about the conversation, because I'm just trying to set it up that way. But also, we've seen these people talking about this stuff many times. So I don't know. It's a lot of it's just by your gut. How does this feel? Where should I be now?
Yep. I want to try another great character scene here, which is the Key to Bin Laden scene. So if we could watch another scene, this is just great, showing two characters interacting, which happens in a lot of movies, and this is just a beautiful example of two people having a conversation in a hallway.
Someone just tried to blow up Times Square, and you're talking to me about some facilitator who some detainee 7 years ago said might have been working with Al-Qaeda?
He's the key to bin Laden.
I don't fucking care about bin Laden. I care about the next attack. You're gonna start working on the American Al-Qaeda cells. Protect the homeland.
Bin Laden is the one who keeps telling them to attack the homeland. If it wasn't for him, Al-Qaeda would still be focused on overseas targets. If you really want to protect the homeland, you need to get bin Laden.
This guy never met bin Laden. This guy's a freelancer working off the fucking internet. No one's even talked to bin Laden in 4 years. He's out of the game. He may well even be dead. He might as well be fucking dead. But you know what you're doing? You're chasing a ghost while the whole fucking network goes all around you.
You just want me to nail some low-level mullah crackadola so you can check that box on your resume that says while you were in Pakistan, you got a real terrorist. But the truth is, you don't understand Pakistan, and you don't know Al-Qaeda. Either give me the team I need to follow this lead, or the other thing you're gonna have on your resume is being the first station chief to be called before a congressional committee for subverting the efforts to capture or kill bin Laden.
You're fucking out of your mind.
I need 4 techs in a safe house in Rawalpindi. 4 techs in a safe house in Peshawar. Either send them out or send me back to DC and explain to the director why you did it.
Tough cookie.
That is a great scene. Can you talk a little bit about constructing that, or the decisions to when you're on him, hearing her kind of insulting him, and when you're on her incredible performance?
Yeah, I mean, that's all built around Jessica being fantastic. And that, you know, we did many takes of that. And I remember her asking me, after she shot that, she said, they really pushed me on set to be big. I don't know if it's going to be good. Please tell me if it's going to be good. And I said, the scene is great. I was like, but as an actor, she was so scared that she was pushing herself farther than made sense, farther than she could justify. And you know, some of that is like take 14, some of it's take 9, but they had to work her up to being that big. And Kyle's just great reacting to her. I think that I like to see people's reactions when they think someone else is being off the rails, and Kyle Chandler just does that perfectly there. So, you're crazy. Yeah, it was a fun scene to cut, very rewarding, and it builds unexpectedly big, and her passion is so magnetic. It's sort of a cornerstone of the emotion in the movie, that bit, I think.
Talk about being a steward for the actor, because clearly she felt like you were her kind of protector in the edit suite.
Well, I think that, you know, I consider the actors, those are the people that we as editors work with every day. I mean, I've said this to a lot of actors, we know you much better than you know us. I mean, I know every expression on your face, your reactions to everything. That's what we work with. That's our stock and trade, is expression and dialogue, tones of voice. So I just, I don't know, I enjoy it. It's like, as craftspeople, that's part of our media. And I forgot what the question was.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. I was just struck by, you said how well you know the actor, and those little nuances. Like I've seen it, especially in Phantom Thread, where there's just the little twitches of an eye or the corner of a mouth, and so much of that is revealing of the character. Much of that is revealing of the character.
Good. I hope so. Yeah, it is to me. When those things are in the right place, it says a whole lot about what that character's thinking. Those are fun things to play with to me, because there's the text of the scene, then there's the subtext, and then there's even under that little things. And in Phantom Thread, Daniel Day-Lewis, I think we got stuff from him in that movie that it was pretty, very honest, like some honest Daniel Day-Lewis, the person moments sort of coming out there that I really felt, more than, you know, he's great in There Will Be Blood, but that was full-on Daniel Plainview character. There's some stuff in Phantom Thread that I thought, this is, you know, this is Daniel. I don't know. That's what I thought. But yeah, I very much enjoy that stuff.
You got to work with another editor, who Tatiana Regal, who
Yeah.
and she, you guys worked together on There Will Be Blood, correct? Or
Tanya came in when I was finishing Jesse James. She came and worked with Paul on set, for just doing some assembly in the beginning of the shoot there, yes. And also I had her help me on Hurlyburly some years before that, a movie like nobody's seen, but yeah, Tanya came in.
And
did
she
Hurly.
just won an Ace Eddie for I, Tanya,
Tanya.
a great, if it's a movie that you didn't think you would like,
Yeah.
you should see it because
She did a great
it's
job.
incredible. And she has a question for us. So if we
Okay.
could play Tatiana's question, that'd be great.
Hey Dylan, Tanya Regal here. We worked together on Hurlyburly and There Will Be Blood. Good time. Anyway, my question for you today is music. How do you like dealing with music? When do you like to put music in? How do you find your temp scores? Some of the directors, like Paul, obviously has a tremendous knowledge and love for music. What is it like with directors that maybe aren't as knowledgeable? And how do you go about putting together temp scores and then ultimately working with composers? Thanks. See you soon.
Thanks, Tanya. Yeah, some directors have a lot to say and a lot of experience with music, and others don't. And even Paul, a director like Paul, who knows a lot of music and has a very, he listens to it all the time when he starts to write, and the whole process. Like on Phantom Thread, a lot of that was we would get stuff from Johnny Greenwood either before we're shooting from the script, or we would send him dailies or cut sequences, and Johnny would just start writing, not really to picture, but he would write bits, demo pieces, and then we would just play with them. We would have a grab bag of 40 or 50 bits of music and move it around, recut it. A lot of times I'm just recutting and moving stuff around. Then we send it back to Johnny and say, we're using it kind of like this, what do you think? And then he'll do another pass. So that's with Paul, and for music that wasn't Johnny, you know, I'll put something in, Paul will put something in. Often he'll have an idea for a piece of music and that's what it'll be, or he'll have an idea and we'll end up switching it out. Wes Anderson is very specific about music. On the Tenenbaums, we had 2 CDs of music and we would just listen to it all day long. Some scenes were shot with a particular cue in mind, others weren't. Directors who are not particularly versed in music, you know, I have 100 music scores in my library, if not more than that, and you try stuff and you sort of go with your gut. I think this kind of instrumentation would work, and the spotting that I do in the beginning is usually very important, because it's not only the piece you put in, it's where you put it. I find a lot of people put music in, they start it too early in the moment so that it's trying to tell me how to feel before I've even felt it, and so I am conscious always of trying to put stuff late. I also, in the process, try to do it late, because music just covers up all the mistakes that you've made. It's very easy to make a sort of clunky moment or clunky sequence feel okay by you know, plastering music on it, and I try not to do that, or wait as long as possible so that we can solve the problem before going for the music blunderbuss.
Yeah, so many people are trying at least to do temp music late in the cut. Like you'd never do the initial cut of a scene with music, or occasionally probably.
Not never, but mostly never. Yeah, I try to do the cut dry and then lay music on it. And it's amazing how you'll have a cut that you've done dry, you lay a piece of, this just happened 2 days ago to me, you lay a piece of music on and it works with all the beats and it changes where it's supposed to change. And it's because I think you have as an editor, an innate kind of sense of musical rhythm and rhythm of things, but sometimes it's just amazing how it falls off the truck and you sort of marvel, oh, that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lee Smith, when I interviewed him, he said that he handed off a scene to the composer, and the composer says, "You're editing exactly 96 beats per minute." It's like I dropped it in, he didn't change tempo, and
At least that I know.
No, but that's something that he obviously didn't realize he was doing. He was just cutting when it felt the timing was
but
right.
that, you know, editing is very musical, or should be. Yeah, that's makes sense.
Yep. I don't see a clock for me. I don't know how long we've been going. I have no clue.
What else do we have?
Well, we want to see the Russian roulette scene. So this is a pretty dramatic scene, and it's for our sensitive viewers, you might want to hold your ears. But this is a great scene. I just want to talk about the tension of this scene, building it.
You guys want to play baseball? No, thank you.
The black guy has a gun in his jacket. Todd. Todd, count the fucking money in the car.
Hey, you want to see something really fascinating? Huh?
That thing's not loaded, is it?
Not yet.
Is that silver? Look, so that's not. Don't point. Don't. You do not point the gun, please, sir. Todd.
Why, you think I can't do it?
No.
Huh?
Wait. No.
Huh? You think I can't do it?
Sir, wait.
You want to see me do it? Huh?
You dare me?
Huh?
No, we don't dare you. Dare fucking dare me!
Your fucking faces, man.
My God. My gosh.
That makes me laugh.
So, talk to us a little bit about the construction of that scene and.
I mean, that's just so fun to cut. I cut that sequence without music, and then we put music on top, and it's funny that a lot of it works so well with the beat of the song. What did I notice about that? I mean,
the amazing thing to me is it just feels so natural with that song. Like you can't imagine that the music wasn't playing in the room.
Yeah, mostly not. Paul certainly knew the songs he wanted to use, but mostly not playing the music in the room. He was using, I mean, you have to record the actors, and so obviously, but he was using 2x4s, slapping them together off camera to be the firecrackers, and the actors were just getting the stress that you see on their faces. It's just real. They were in that room for 3 sweaty days with just clapping 2x4s all day long. And I was like, this is insane. Yeah, really, really fun sequence. Everybody in that movie so great. Fred Molina is brilliant. Watching that reminded me that the director wanted me to cut when Fred flips open the gun box. He wanted me to cut to this down shot of the gun, and I was like, no, I don't want to see it till he picks it up in the next shot. Like, I don't want to make it about, oh, cool gun. I want to make it about the anticipation of, uh-oh, what's this guy doing right now? And I think that worked pretty well.
Yeah, and I love those kind of decisions to think, let's not do the big obvious reveal of what's he looking at.
And not a scene about a gun. It's a scene about this guy with a gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to have 2 more questions. One from Joe Walker, who had a question about. We'll find out as we play the video.
Joe Walker, fellow editor, huge fan of your work. Dylan, I wanted to ask, a lot of the edits you've been involved with must be marathons. What tips, tricks, strategies do you have to stay fresh and keep a perspective on what you're viewing?
That's it.
Right. Where is he?
Staying fresh. One more question.
Where is he?
Staying fresh. One more question. We're wrapping it up in 2 minutes.
There are tricks to staying fresh. Well, like I said, taking notes is very important, so you have recorded your ideas. Then also, I like to watch the cuts in different places. I take the cut home, watch it in my living room, take it to some sort of screening room somewhere before we're even screening it. Or I end up, when we're sending a cut out to somebody, I tell my assistant, oh, send it to me. And then I end up watching it on my phone, standing on a street corner somewhere, just like, what does this feel like? How does it look on this kind of screen? I don't know, it helps you. Watching different sizes, different places. I move to different places in the room. Obviously, when you sort of finish a little section of editing, get up and walk to the back of the room and watch it like there's a bunch of people in front of you. But I think the biggest help is making sure that you take good notes in the beginning, and I do that so that then I build select sequences that I just pare down, and so I know at least the process is helping me stick to the good stuff.
Awesome. One final question, which we're going to get from Harry Yoon. If you could play this. This is about Phantom Thread, which has a great scene between the two characters at the end of the movie. If you please watch this movie, Phantom Thread, where she's making an omelet, and Harry had a question about how you built that.
Yes, Harry.
Hi, Steve. Hi, Dylan. This is Harry Yoon, and my question has to do with my favorite scene in Phantom Thread, which is near the end where Alma is cooking an omelet for Reynolds. And I was hoping you could talk a little bit about the incredible tonal shifts that you managed in that scene, how you built them, and how they evolved through the editorial process. Thanks. Thanks.
Tonal shifts. Yeah, well, that's the fun thing about that scene is knowing. That's, harkens back to our talk about anticipation, because this whole thing is she's just cooking him an omelet, but she's using ingredients that in the edit we tried to show that Reynolds was, in the beginning, it's their sort of classic icy demeanor, and then he gets a clue that she's using some special mushrooms, and wait, what's going on? And trying to sort of parse that information out so that it's slowly sort of ticking up a notch at a time, and I intercut it with the building, the cooking of the omelet. So it's sort of Reynolds having a realization that, wait, what's she doing? And then eggs go in, and then is she really gonna? Yep, and there's butter. I hate butter. Here's more butter. And so the scene kind of builds like that, and what's fun about it is, as an audience, there's some sort of violence coming here. Something is building. It's far too tense, far too weird. The music's far too loud. And what it ends up being is it's sort of violence in a love violence. It's like I need to. I don't want to give anything away for people who haven't seen it, but.
There's a twist.
Yeah, there's a twist, and that's what we're building to, and it's I think there are a lot of different colors in there, and I think building to it was just, there's very little bit of dialogue, and it's just about watching characters' expectations in their eyes and knowing, what's at stake here. I don't know, Harry, if I answered your question.
Hopefully you did. Hopefully you answered the questions for all these people. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking Dylan for
Thank you, guys.
With us. We'll go back and...
Thank you, Steve.